I am Professor William Woodward. I'm trained in the history of science with a Ph.D. I also have a master's in experimental psychology. I've edited 4 books and published well over 20 peer-reviewed papers. I've taught for 35 years at a state university, University of New Hampshire. I've been thinking for about 8 years now about the psychologist's approach to 9/11, and I've come to focus on the public and how the public is responding to 9/11, drawing first of all on the psychoanalytic approach. Most of us can relate to the trauma which is 9/11. I remember hearing the official explanation of what happened. 19 Arabs flew planes into 2 buildings on the second day. And I found that that's the official view that has showed up several years later in the 9/11 Commission report. But those of us who are looking for a scientific explanation are puzzled because there are so many inconsistencies. For example, there was another World Trade Tower that went down, World Trade Center 7, and no one's explaining that. So we waited and we got the 9/11 Commission report. We thought that would bring some harmony, some consonance, but for us there was dissonance. The official story didn't make enough sense. We had this discrepant information. We kept looking, and finally we found something that did produce consonance, which was that there was a demolition in all 3 buildings. So my position as a historian of psychology, applying psychology to this historic event, is that we need an impartial, scientific, and legal investigation, as required by law, of any crime scene. And we should not be treating 9/11 as an excuse to go to war, but rather as a criminal act for which we have yet to do the forensic analysis, the scientific analysis, all the disciplines working together. But these are all efforts to bring to light alternative hypotheses so that the public can begin to understand, and I would say that is the route to national healing from the tragedy. To work together to expose what happened regardless of where the evidence takes us. I know that's what we do in our police department in my hometown. That's what we expect in our state government, law enforcement. We expect at the international level, international law. I think that by putting science together with the law, we will have a psychological healing around the impossible cognition that has been produced on that day. That gets me into another line of literature, which is called false flag history. Numerous false flag events have been used to justify wars in the past. Possibly the Iraq and Afghanistan wars can be connected to a false flag event in this case. That would fit into the psychologist's explanation. Somebody generated a new Pearl Harbor, and that was used to turn public opinion into the support of war. Similarly, in my youth, the Gulf of Tonkin has been exposed as the false flag non-incident, which was used to get Congress to vote to go into Vietnam. If you look into the history of other wars, in almost every case, you find public opinion was manipulated to get us into the war, and this may be no exception. So rather than be afraid of the possibility that we were manipulated into a perception that we'd been attacked, perhaps we should summon the courage to allow experts to weigh in and have a public process to get out the truth. So that's why I have joined the 9/11 Truth Movement, to allow the light of day to shine on a traumatic event and hope that out of that can come a national healing. To overcome our fear of the traumatic event with new information would be the best, healthiest route to our collective recovery from the trauma of 9/11. That, by the way, is a psychotherapeutic insight that to gradually uncover the truth in your own life, the sources of anxiety, to make them conscious, is the royal road to recovery.